Hey guys, welcome back to the Girlfriends and Goals podcast. My name is Samaria and I'm joined by my best friend and co-host,
Miosha.
and today we're reviewing Married at First Sight season 18 episode 13.
13. Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. All right, but before we get into that, please make sure you are subscribed to our channel, give this video a thumbs up, and of course, as always, meet us in the comments and let us know how you felt about this episode. So we're gonna get Camille and Thomas out of the way, Carla and Juan out of the way. Honestly, even Iichi and Amee out of the way because they weren't the juiciest. I mean, they still had stuff, but they weren't the juiciest. So we can get into what everybody wants to talk about. All right, so Thomas and Camille.
Yeah, most of them was, I guess, exploring their intimacy. The episode opens up with them at the apartment using this massage gun. I don't know. Camille is saying on one hand she really wants him to take the lead, but then I get that she very much likes being in charge. So I don't know what to think of Camille. Like when she was, I don't know if it was the first scene, but I think she called him stop being a little.
Yes, I was like, girl, do not talk to that man like that. I know you're being playful, but don't talk to him like that. But
Well, it's combined. It's playful if it's isolated and maybe I guess you felt comfortable enough to say it, but then the follow up is saying, "Oh, you need to be more assertive in the bedroom. You need to take the lead more." So it's a totality, I think, of what's being communicated that, and even still, she shouldn't have said it.
but you know, some people play with their significant others like in some people's relationships, that's fine. So I mean,
Yeah.
who are we to say, you know, what is acceptable and what
And
isn't?
he
I'm
didn't
sure.
seem, I mean, he seemed to laugh it off, I guess. I don't know.
Listen, whatever Thomas is okay with, I guess I'll be okay with too. But no, I do enjoy their playfulness with each other. Um, the other thing I have on them is that Dr. Pia comes and sits down with them for a little
So,
bit.
how are things going?
And things are great, and then they talked about what things are working, and we find out more about Thomas than we maybe needed to. No, I'm just kidding.
He said, "My
But
neck hurt."
he is so funny. He had me cracking up.
Oh
But
man, yeah.
yeah, so
I mean, I think the biggest takeaway from that is he's a giver. He wants to receive, and she said, "You're gonna have to wait on it." He said he'd be willing to wait and be more patient, I guess, until she has this deeper connection that would allow her to give to him more.
yeah.
Um, Child, I guess. I don't know.
It was just so funny because she's like, I want to take 5 steps ahead in this direction. Oh, you want to take a step in that one? Minus
Right.
two.
And it's interesting that she wants to explore all these things,
I
but
know.
that one thing,
She's so
she's like,
funny.
nope, not gonna be able to do it. So I don't know. It's a bit of imbalance. It's giving Camille wants what she wants. And I up until this point, I haven't heard Thomas speak up about much of anything that he wants other than maybe seeing a softer side of her. But it's like, okay, girl, the one thing that he said he wants.
But listen, if that is outside of her comfort zone right now, proud of her for speaking up on it. And also glad that she's with somebody who's like, okay, I can wait a little bit, you know, until you're more comfortable with that. I think, regardless of how anybody else feels about it, if he feels content and he's okay with waiting, yeah,
That's up to them. Yeah.
it really is. It is. So love that for them. I really like them. That's all I have.
Yep, that's it.
All right. So Juan and Carla.
Okay.
Carla always seems, and I don't know, maybe this is just RBF or something, but she always seems slightly over Juan. Like when he's in the kitchen doing all his things and talking a mile a minute, and she's just like,
I think her natural energy is more serious. And for one, everything is so playful. Everything is a joke. And I could see that get annoying because yes, I could see it getting annoying because yes, this is a process where you don't want it to be all serious, but you're playing too much in areas where I think could actually help you to move forward. So when the experts come in, he sits down, Dr. Pia comes in and it's like everything is funny, everything is a joke, and it's like, okay, what are we
yeah.
doing here?
I will say I loved their excitement about Dr. Pia. Like they seem very comfortable with her. And I don't remember which one said it, but maybe it was Carla. She goes, "Our girlfriend is here." So they must really love Dr. Pia. They I noted that they asked Juan how the meeting with Carla's parents went, and all
The
he talked
food.
about was the food.
The food.
Like, yeah, his mom had a feast. Her mom had a feast, and it was this food and that food. Even Dr. Pia had to say, "Okay, and so what about the meeting with the parents?" Like,
Part of that is playing too much, I think. Like he wasn't telling a joke, but he clearly, as much as he was harping on it, was trying to be funny about it. It was a serious question that could be like, "Oh, the food was amazing. I felt welcomed." And then this is how the meeting went with the parents. I don't know. I can see how she's annoyed with that.
no, absolutely. I The most annoying part to me was later on when they had the tantra thing. But
Hmm.
before I get to that, when they were with Dr. Pia and they were saying things like, "Oh, we're getting somewhere," we're at day what 17, or we're 17 days to decision day. At this
Hmm.
point, nobody's getting anywhere that they haven't already gotten. Like, we're a little over 2 weeks away. There's nothing that's about to pop off.
And I think it was in that meeting with Dr. Pia where she brings up Carla has this photo with one of her guy friends where I guess they're very close, and Juan said that he doesn't mind, but then he also follows it up with, "Oh, and you know, because of how Philip is, I would hump him too, or if I was his friend, I would hump him too."
You need to be worried about humping Carla, okay?
Because she's open to it, I think.
Some type of affection.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Tantra with Diana. Miss Diana comes in her lingerie.
And why? I
She
don't
comes in her lingerie.
I don't know. I've never done tantric yoga, so maybe I'm misinformed. But in my mind, you would show up in yoga clothes, and I don't know.
The funny thing for me though is she I understand you're the instructor, so you have to show people how to do things. But at some point, I expected that she would stop and then just let Carla be the one with the rose. But she over there steadily stroking and doing all the things.
It's giving she was a participant, but based off the way she was
Yes.
dressed and how much she was doing, it was this is a not just an instructor led, it's an instructor participating session.
Yeah.
Odd.
So yeah, that was funny. And then when she leaves, Juan's like, "Oh, let's try it on you," which I was like, okay, maybe he's warming up. But then
Maybe.
he turned that into a joke too. I'm like, oh my god, we're getting nowhere with these two at all.
You know
It's
what it reminded me of? I think it was a Nashville season with Kirsten and Shaq,
Shaquille.
where he was doing that painting on her.
They were a little more intimate than Carla and
Oh yeah,
Juan.
they definitely were. But that scene where he was like throwing it on her, it was supposed to be like an intimate exercise. I'm like, okay, people. Maybe because the cameras are there, it makes sense, I guess, to not maybe take it too serious. We don't want to see that much of y'all's business, anyways.
I guess. I think Carla's being a good sport. She's laughing along with it, but I'm a little over it now. I'm ready for the season to end for those two.
Yes, can we narrow it down? But then who's left that we're actually interested in?
Okay, so I would like to see the final fallout of Iichi and Amee, David and
Matt.
Michelle, maybe Alan and Madison. Camille and Thomas just need to go ahead and say yes and be married. So
Yeah. Like
yeah,
we could skip a lot and just get straight to it. It doesn't have to be 15 more weeks of
but
this.
I will say, because in previous seasons we've critiqued, oh, they're dragging things along. I don't feel like they're dragging things along. I think enough is happening this season. We also critique and say that the experts are nowhere to be found. They've been very present this season, and I appreciate that. So I think this is a really good season.
Oh yeah, definitely, especially after Denver that just fired baby bears. Oh.
Yeah, I was ready to quit after Denver, not gonna lie. Well, yeah, maybe this is it for
We're like,
us.
we don't know if we can do this franchise anymore.
Mm-mm. I wonder if it's gonna be over before Love is Blind comes back on. We'll be
I
reviewing two
doubt it.
shows.
Yeah, I doubt
Yeah.
it. We still gonna be in the trenches, girl. Don't get your hopes up.
Uh, okay, so let's go to Ikichi and Amem, which was mostly just Amem.
Right. So they finally go on a date that he initiates.
And what was the date?
We're gonna go grab ice cream and play cards, but the energy is so off. And he talks about how awkward it is for him, but you made it this way. Oh, we're taking a step backwards. But you were the one who said you didn't want to do plan any dates, didn't want to do anything. And how funny it is that now you're the one asking all the questions.
I thought that was hilarious. So I said he came and brought her to just get some ice cream and talk. He's asking her, what was the question he said? Oh man, I forgot to write down the question.
Mm.
Oh, what
Oh,
brings you
what brings you
joy?
joy? We already heard
Yes.
that question before.
And I'm just like, okay, so you're doing the same thing she was doing just over ice cream. Where's the fun activity?
The playing cards.
And then he pulls out the cards.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess that's his idea of fun. So
Yes, I guess so she can experience him. He brings up that he's going to Houston for homecoming weekend. Um, and he talks about how he's excited to see his mom, the rest of his people. And he which I wish he didn't do, but it is what it
I knew you
is,
were gonna say that.
asked like, "Oh made a statement of, oh, I would love to see your mom or whatever," and he just stares at her and was like, "Well, I'll be sure to check in the morning and in the evening,"
Which he did not do. And
which
I
we
knew he
knew
wasn't
he
gonna
wasn't
do
going to
it.
do it.
I will say though, MM, if nothing else, I hope you get brand deals from this because the sister be dressing.
She
Okay?
do.
She always has on a very nice outfit. I loved her suit at the ice cream shop. Very sharp,
Very
very
well put
beautiful.
together.
Yes, I love her
And
outfit.
I feel
So,
like that makes him can't stand her even more. Not that like how you dress makes you a better person or not. Not that, but
mhm.
she's just so well put together. They're just on very different vibes. He's giving Dora the Explorer and she's giving high fashion with that backpack. I think this is the first
Backpack,
thing
backpack.
we've seen him without the backpack except the anniversary dinner.
Yeah, so twice now.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah.
right. So I put down that if I lived where MM lived, I would never leave and go back to that little apartment. Did you see her view?
I
That was
know.
gorgeous. I would not be worried about
Oh,
Ike.
we forgot one thing. She did ask him about where his ring was.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm like, sis, girl, you don't even have to wear yours at this point. He's clearly abandoned the marriage. So
Yeah.
that was another thing where I wish I know
Wouldn't.
she's over it and over him, clearly, based off what she said later in the episode.
Hmm.
But I do see her finding little opportunities to continue to kind of poke at him. And it is unnecessary. I would just say, okay, it is what it is. I know he's your husband,
Hmm.
but he's clearly not acting as such. And so, him wearing a ring or not, girl, you know he didn't have it on down there in Houston. He was probably frolicking, having a good old time while married.
Frolicking. He seems like the type to frolic. So she called Dr. Pia at the end and just gave an update. I was so scared for this because I'm like, please, Dr. Pia, don't say something like, well, you should reach out if he hasn't yet, because I would have just thrown my slipper at the
It
TV.
felt like it was going to go that way.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's like, oh, I haven't heard from him. And then Dr. Pia asked, oh, well, is there any part of you that wants to reach out to him? And she
I was
says,
so happy
no.
when she said no.
Like, because emotionally and mentally, I don't know if I can handle the rejection, essentially. And so I
Hmm.
was glad Dr. Pia didn't follow it up with, well, you never know. No, ain't nothing happened to him. He's
We
fine.
know. We know.
Yeah.
And he would have just said something like, well, I told you I'd reach out on my time. It's not on
Hmm.
your time. I don't want to hear that anymore. So I think it's best that she didn't. But that's all that I had on them.
Yeah. And she did mention something about the shared apartment not having any peace. And I agree with her in the way that she's using peace, meaning I'm in here. The only reason I'm at this downgrade of an apartment is because of this process compared to what she has
Yeah, yeah,
is
yeah, for
because
sure.
of this marriage, and he's clearly abandoned it. So imagine the emotions and feelings that come with being in that space. You're alone by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see how she's not at peace being in that space. Go back home to your beautiful apartment. No.
Where you got your karaoke. Okay. So now we can get into Alan and Madison, and we'll also talk about the girls' night and guys' night situation
Mm-hmm.
here. Okay. So Madison is very clearly over Luffy, which I understand. I'm not a pet person, so every time I see Luffy acting up, I'm like, is she better than me? Madison is better than
Alan,
me.
get Luffy some dog training.
I know. I think because he's so small, people with small dogs don't. I don't know that they don't take the training seriously. Like if he were a bigger dog, you would have to because then it seems like a threat. Because he's such a
Mm-hmm.
small dog, it doesn't seem like a threat. But
But a lot of
yeah,
big, small dogs have big dog energy.
do
They
they?
be the ones quick to be yipping and doing the most.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think he just needs some training. Nothing against him. He's a cute dog, but he just
Hmm.
needs some home training.
Yeah. So I think Dr. Pia came
They
to
go there.
them.
She meets
Yeah.
with them at the apartment. Yeah.
Yes, and she asked how they felt about trusting each other. And I felt bad for Alan, of course, here, because he says he has full trust in her. And I'm just like, no, Alan, she's not the one to trust.
And Madison follows up with, yeah, I do sort of trust him in areas of being vulnerable, but not how he acts when alcohol is involved. And um, I don't want to be dismissive of things that could be triggering to her. Um, but I don't know, because we know too much, it's hard for me to take what she says seriously. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I don't feel exactly that way, but I see that perspective. And what I told myself was, well, two things can be true.
Mm-hmm.
I think we hate that she's bringing it up because still there's not a place in the world. There's not a world where she and Alan are romantic for her.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of sucks to see her talk about things that are valid issues for her when we know even if those things weren't there, you still wouldn't give him a romantic chance. So I think
And,
that's what it is for me.
and I think I kind of question the validity of even what she's saying a bit, just because of like how certain stories have been told. And yeah, so I'm not saying that it couldn't have happened to where how he's acted while drinking isn't an issue. It's just even the way things have been told, I'm just not sure. I'm not sure. And I think
Maybe. It,
when you're on TV, even the whole like, oh well, she went to the bathroom and but she actually left, and it's just the way that things are happening. I'm trying to figure out, is it valid how he's acting while intoxicated, or are you looking for a reason to justify how things are going to play out?
you know what adds to the validity for me? Like, if this scene had not been on my TV screen, I would be 1,000% with you. And I'm still more than halfway with you on what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying. But if we had not seen the scene of him wanting to drive after drinking and her very visceral reaction to that, then I would be like, well, there's no validity to it. I think what you're saying has a lot of truth, but that's the only reason why I can't completely go that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so Alan had me cracking up because he said, well, there's a reason. He said, there's a reason people put up with my outlandish behavior.
Right. Now this goes back to the lack of confidence or being a pushover. Once again, I don't get that he's not confident.
Yeah, I've never gotten that.
So I don't know. He seems like, not that he's feeling himself, but he's confident in what he has going on.
And he should be, right? Like he seems like a fun person to be around. He seems to be doing well for himself financially. Um, I think an overall great guy. So he has no reason not to be confident. Yeah. Anyway, so then we go to the scene where the girls meet up. Do you want to talk about that now?
Well, one thing I want to say before we move on is that at the end of the scene where they're talking with Dr. Pia, I think she talked about how she's going to give them the intimacy box. Madison is all basically saying like, "Oh, I'm open to it. I'm open to progressing things forward physically." And I said, if she is messing around with David at this point, that's clearly a lie. But we can move on.
Okay. Speaking of David, so when they have the girls' night, Michelle, of course, brings up that David sends this message, and Madison is giggling along with the girls.
She laughing extra hard. Did y'all see that?
I actually took a picture of her face when she
She was
like the shock
cracking
on
up.
her face.
And,
Hold
and
on,
to
let me
me,
see.
what was being said was not that funny.
This was her being shocked at the text, and I'm like, girl, because he copied and pasted it and sent it to who it was supposed to go to. But anyways, so I think the only thing that bothered me, or one of the things that bothered me, was when Michelle asked for advice, which Michelle doesn't want advice. She's not going to take the advice. Like, it's just not. Everybody's, both of them were being fake in this moment, in my opinion. But Madison was the loudest one, the only one who was like, "Oh, I think you should handle it like this, and this is how I would handle it." And like, you're the only one giving advice, and you're possibly the guilty party.
Well, when Michelle says, "Hey, this happened the night he was out with you two," Madison is like, "Yeah," but then Carla showed up. She quickly pulled Carla in it, and we dipped.
My hands are clean.
And Imem, thankfully, Imem was like, "So did y'all leave him by himself?" No, it sounds as though they all ended up together somewhere else. And then Carla says, "Yeah, like, I don't know if he was really on his phone. I really wasn't paying that much attention, but I do know he was helping you,
Carla said,
Madison, look for your phone."
"You should know more about this because y'all were together, remember?"
And then Madison very awkwardly is like, "Yeah, when my phone was stolen."
It is all. It's someone. I think we're laughing a bit too much because someone last week thought that we were condoning this with like the whole David and Michelle situation. I will say we don't condone
No.
this behavior, especially because it's going to affect Alan, who
Yeah.
is an innocent bystander, right? But Alan is the only one I feel bad for. As far as Michelle goes, we'll get to them in a second, but anyway, we don't think what is going on is right.
No,
At all.
I'm laughing at Madison's reaction to Carla putting her out there, which I'm glad that she did. And I think in this moment, Carla either already knew or started
Yes.
to put two and two together.
I put that, I said, Carla's eyes told me everything I needed to know. She suspects something. And her being pulled in, because Carla was quiet. And Madison pulled her in. And so it's like, if you go put me in it, girl,
Let's open it all the way up.
I'm going to absolve myself of any guilt here because I saw y'all together, quiet as it's kept.
And Carla says, "Oh, I barely saw him." And then I don't know if the other ladies, you already talked about it, the advice, but how cringy Madison is the one to speak up and say, "I think you should basically go softer on him. I guess attract more bees with honey."
It's just a very awkward situation. I feel less awkward about it when it's David and Michelle on my screen than I do with Madison. I think they should just go ahead and put it all out there at this point, before it goes deeper, I don't mind that, you know, maybe they've come on this show and they've found their partner, but not in the person who they were matched up with. I don't think, like, it's kind of not an issue for me. But the fact that it's going deeper and deeper at this point, okay, it's awkward. Let's just put it all out there. Madison, you weren't attracted to Alan. That happens in real life. It's fine, right? David, you never stood a chance with your person. So you had no, not that he had no choice, but it's more understandable. But yeah, the lying now to keep this up, I think does make it a little bit awkward. But I don't
Yeah,
think
because
negative things about either of them.
yeah, they're
Genuinely.
all work friends, but this is all happening in real time for them. I wanted to ask you a follow up question really quick. Do you think the producers knew at this point what was going on? Because I feel like we got a few breadcrumbs to lead us to believe that they knew that this whole swapper, something was going on. But I want to hear your thoughts.
I think it's a high possibility, especially that
Okay.
this thing won't die, like the issue won't die, which I know David just wants it to. Have you seen A Different World, right? The wedding
Hmm.
episode where Whitley's mom, when Dwayne comes out, and Whitley's mom is like, "Die, just die." Like
Is it?
that's David to this situation, and
Is
probably
that what
Madison
happened?
as well.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah. Yes. But yeah, I think that they know something because the first inkling is the trust question that Dr. Pia asked Alan and Madison. Yeah, that was my first little breadcrumb of like why that question, because I don't think she focused on intimacy for everyone else, and maybe she did ask and we didn't see the other couples talk about trust, but I don't know how he was like, oh, I fully trust her.
yeah, and the editors, you know, from the beginning of this season, because on the honeymoon, we felt like something was happening with David and Madison. So the editors have also been playing this game the entire season.
And the fact that on the honeymoon they were kind of using Juan as a decoy. Juan is bros with everybody, right? So even if something fishy was going on, he wasn't going to say anything. But it kind of was like, oh, well, I was at the gym with Juan and Madison. We're all working out. But Juan wouldn't have said anything anyways. We know
Yeah,
that now.
I would love to know when it started. You know, I would love to know because like I'm not gonna completely villainize them, um, but I just would like to know the details as a viewer.
Yeah, we
Like,
want to know.
when did
I
it
want to know.
start? And I
Mhm.
don't think we can fault David, but I think unfortunately this is a situation where we could more so fault Madison because she's with such a great person on the
Well,
show.
that and because David slipped up and sent the text about her and she's in close proximity to Michelle,
Hmm.
um, I think that's what the difference is. Not that her and Michelle are besties. It's just Michelle has all but asked you a direct question
Hmm.
and you know that text was for you. Versus on the flip side, yeah, David recounts the story about the text to Alan, which we can already say like Alan seemed confident to me to tell him like, yeah, bro, that don't seem right.
Yeah,
He the
some
only man
fish,
that will speak up.
and that is hard to find because men just let their friends do it. Like Ikechi's friend.
He was like, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but
Sounds fishy to me.
sound like a problem to me. So yeah. Anyways, okay,
Okay, so back to Alan and Madison. So
okay.
after this girl time, they're back at the apartment. They did the activity that Dr. Pia said, and it seemed to have gone well.
Oh yeah, the intimacy box
Yeah.
question.
But then at the end of it, Alan, in an attempt to give her a compliment, I think, maybe, said, essentially, you're a very emotional person when it comes to physical things, but I assumed maybe you were more transactional, which
Mm-hmm.
he he said hey, I'm not going to use the right word here, but I think we can all pretty much gather where it was coming
Alan,
from. And
next
she and me
time,
definitely gathered.
Alan, next time, don't say nothing until you have the right words. Don't say no words. Get
Honestly,
your
the
thoughts
first the
together.
first part of what he said was like, oh wow, so I can see you're, just very emotional, and that's refreshing to know. Period. Stop right there.
Stop right there if you don't have the words, because even when you preface it, what they're going to remember is the second half. So,
Honestly, I would have felt bad just from the preface because I saw where it was going.
and what he was also saying too is, I think, based off what he saw of her at the wedding, she can come across, or she seemed like a party girl, a girl who likes to have fun. He also did use the word transactional, which I think is a problem. But I think the gist of what he was saying is, I had one perception of you, but I was pleasantly surprised to see that you weren't that. And so, but we already knew she was gonna feel a way about it, even though she was like, "Oh, I don't feel a way. I don't." Girl, you feel a way.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I think she's maybe this is to compensate for her not being attracted to him, or to compensate for maybe what's going on with other cast members. But I think she was trying to maybe preserve his feelings and like, oh no, it's fine. But as soon as he walks out and she comes back into the living room and the producer asks, she breaks down. I would say I felt for her in that moment, because you could tell it was something that she had been hearing before. Before he even finished, she said, because of the way I look, you can tell she's gotten that before, probably several times. And if I were her, I would also feel a way. It's the whole, oh, you work at this office? Oh, I didn't think you would be in this position because what, I am a beautiful woman, or because of the way I look. Like what exactly is it? So I felt for her in that moment.
I agree in that. I think it does suck, like, for people to judge you based off how you look. They think maybe the rooms you should be in, the things that you're able to accomplish or not. I also think, as you would say, like, two things can be true at the same time. I think Madison does carry herself as a fun party girl.
That's what I think.
And
Yeah.
so I was kind of like, girl, I don't want to diminish your tears, but you do present that way. And so I see both sides. I see why she was offended, because of course you maybe wouldn't want your partner to feel that way about you.
Or a friend, because I can't associate Alan with being like her partner for real. But a
Right.
friend.
Well, because later on she was like, "Oh, and I wouldn't want my partner or spouse, to think, it's one thing for other people to feel that way. It's another thing if your spouse feels that way." So that's why I said that, because she connected it. But I think on the flip side, she does carry herself that way, and we've seen a few instances where that's true, and I don't think that it's a problem. And so my takeaway from this is two things. I think it maybe did hit home for her, and there is some sensitivity around how she presents and how people perceive her. I also think she kind of made this bigger than what it was, because I think she's trying to emotionally distance. She's trying to distance herself from him and justify it.
Like what Michelle is doing with David. But
Right.
I do want to say, because I agree with you. I wrote down, to be fair, Madison is a good time. Like, on the honeymoon, we noted that she was a good, but someone wanting to party and have fun should not translate to what they're like sexually. I think that's a big no. Just because I think, and not to go all serious, but when it comes to like social issues, you see people, particularly with the fun girls, being like, oh, well, this was what she wanted, or this is what this is how she presented herself. So what, can you blame me for treating her in XYZ way? And it's like, no, I just want to go out and dance and have a drink with friends. That doesn't translate to my sexual behavior. So I think it could possibly be the connection between, oh, I'm a fun loving person, and now you assume that I'm sexually promiscuous or transactional because of it. So
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's denying that she's a fun girl. That she even said like, yeah, I'm a party girl, but I think she made the distinction between a party girl and a clubby girl, which, child, this is new vocab for me, but
Um,
I think that's what she was saying the difference was.
and I think the issue also is because I think all these things are valid because we know so much. It's kind of hard to differentiate. Okay, like, okay, this is an issue, but then are you latching on and making this a bigger issue and then, using it as a reason to remove yourself from the apartment, go call a friend. You're not in contact with him. You gone pretty much, girl, 4 o'clock, 3 something in the morning. That's the next
Yeah.
day.
Now, I thought like her feelings, I thought were completely valid because of all the things that I just listed. But one thing about Madison, she's going to disappear. Now, I don't think she should have gone out until like maybe 3 a.m. talking on the phone or whatever it was that she was doing. I thought that might have been a little bit too much, especially with her understanding and not being mad at him, like she said. So
Right,
I
because
think
you
that was
we
the
were
reason.
saying one thing, but your actions speak another. And because of what we know, were you on the phone till 3 something in the morning? If you were, a text to him to be like, "Hey, I'm still talking
Yes,
to so
yes.
and so," and were you with David? Because we know he was. Michelle isn't at the apartment; she's somewhere else.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It's kind of also like, okay, well, you use that thing that happened
Yeah.
to have extreme behavior because you don't want to be with him and be there anyways.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a few things going on at the
Yeah, like
same
it's
time,
not just
and
black and white.
yeah, it's not. And but what I will say though is he was very, very apologetic
Hmm. Hmm.
multiple times throughout. She herself, I think, was giving misleading communication by saying, "Oh, I'm okay," knowing she wasn't okay. And then I think the cherry on top is you disappearing. And then
Yeah.
when you come back, acting like it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
No
When it has
accountability.
been something that was addressed previously. So yeah. But then they go to the gym. I said another gym date with these two.
They gonna sweat if they do nothing else.
Okay. Listen, she was getting her reps in. I said, I see
I
you, girl,
know.
with the arms. But okay. I also thought this was another convoluted conversation a little
Okay.
bit because I fully understood where both of them came from, right? So on her end, I see where it's like, hey, after an offense, just let me be offended and show me care and show empathy. Like if you're coming here with a sincere apology, it shouldn't be a sincere apology and then what I did wrong. Like let this moment be for the apology. That's how I took it when she got upset that he went into his offense.
Well, I will say, but before he went to the gym, he apologized to her twice. And so I'm with you in that let's focus on the task at hand. I think at the apartment he apologized, before he took Luffy out, when he came back, like he apologized. So that was like his third time apologizing. And I think the point he was trying to make, at least as I took it, was,
I agree
hey,
with whatever you're about to
I
say.
agree that these are separate issues, but when you're critical of me, you made assumptions about me right out of the gate, my level of health, fitness, how I dress. I'm not
How
confident.
attractive I am. No,
Like
I fully like
we
so this
got
for
five
me.
things, and I,
Yeah.
I I would be on board if when he first apologized, he tried to be like, "Oh, but you did da 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 da." That's an absolute not. No, do not do that. But since it had been multiple apologies, I'm
Mm,
like, I think the point of him bringing it up is I find a way to get to a place to move forward.
for sure.
And so I'm bringing this up in the context of, hey, the only way we could even have a fighting chance to be a successful couple is if we acknowledge what happened, the person who needs to apologize sincerely apologizes, and then we make the steps forward. But
Yes.
if I react how you're reacting, then we'll probably never move forward if I'm like stuck in this place of, yeah, you apologize, but I still feel away.
Well, okay. So that was the other side. So everything you said was, the other side of what I saw. So I don't disagree with Alan's perspective. At some point, that did have to be brought up because he's just trying to get to like better, quicker, healthier resolutions without you disappearing. Like that can't happen all the time. But I think with this being their first conversation about this thing, right? Like this is a time where she had actually processed whatever it was that was going on. It wasn't just oh yeah, it's fine, it's okay. This was their first conversation about it. And she's saying, hey, this is how I felt. This is why I felt this way. This is why it triggered me. I don't think that is the best time for this. Although everything Alan said needed to be said at some point. I don't know that this was the exact point. But he's not wrong.
I could get with that. I think another reason why he brought it up was also because she left. And I could be reaching on that. Y'all tell me. I think
Well, yeah.
that added to his level of frustration in the moment, and that, hey, we're addressing what I initially said. Your reaction, though, I think he was kind of fueled by the way she handled it. And he
Yeah.
was like, I'm gonna have to bring you down a few pegs and let you know that like you also haven't navigated this well either.
Yeah. And I don't even think
Two
it was,
wrongs
yeah,
don't make
bringing
a
her down a
right.
few pegs. I think it's just like he's a person, he has needs too that have to be communicated. Like
Because
you can't
even
always
in
just
that
walk away, girl.
even in that conversation though, when he was like, you left, and she's like, yeah, and till the next morning, no, and like she was completely dismissive of
Yeah.
that fact as well. So, and once again, because I know what I know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You think she put 20 on 10.
I think she put 20 on 10. I think she would have got a reason to leave. She was happy about it. Don't know where she went. And I think what adds to it is that he initially left the apartment thinking she was okay. She kept saying she was okay, okay. And her being flippant about leaving, girl.
Yeah, you can't do that because it's been an issue that he's clearly said before. Hey, I don't like that.
Is this the third time? So we
I
have
think
the
it
night
is.
the when you got back from the honeymoon, the first night didn't come home. Y'all got separated in the bar. You were in the restroom. Y'all didn't connect until the next morning, and now we're at the third time where
Yeah.
you leave to go make a call and don't come home.
So yeah, I think he was completely right with bringing it up. I can see why that timing wasn't the best, but I think it had to be brought up because this is a consistent behavior. That's not a good behavior. Like,
And I think under normal circumstances, yeah, when a person wants to address something with you, address that. Don't use it as the time to list off all your grievances. Sorry, you're gonna have to come back with another ticket later.
a clean slate and then
Yes, wait till the energy has
yeah.
cleared, and
Yeah.
yeah.
But I'm guilty of that. I am so Alan because it's like like I'm over here talking like, yeah, you can't bring up your grievances when you're apologizing. And who does that more than anybody? Guilty. Because I just want to get it off my chest,
I said
So
what I said.
right. So I can't be holier than thou. It's so much easier to see when someone else is participating in it than when you
Yeah.
are. So I say this to Alan as someone who's in the same shoes. Like, No judgment, okay?
There's still growth to be had,
No
yeah.
growth. Yes.
And yeah, when if you're in a longer term relationship, like there's practice, you get better at it, and yeah, you just always try to do better next time.
Right.
Always.
But
Um,
I love Alan's commitment to resolve things, so he did come back and, they had a different conversation. But yeah.
oh wait, there was something else. Oh, he said when they finally got back to the apartment after the gym, he said, he was in his emotions and feelings when he fell asleep. He said he had a dream that that she had remarried someone else. I said, "Does he already know?" That is so specific.
I don't know. God's trying to tell you. God's trying to tell you something.
He says he has an immense amount of care for her. I said, "Oh, Alan." And he says, "Do you know how much I care for you?" She says, "No."
Good, Alan. Make her feel bad for what she's doing.
And she says, even though it may not seem like it, I'm on the same page as you. I do care and I'm still in it.
Yeah. It's so sad. I like most parties involved. It's sad to see it go down this way, and I just hope like Alan finds his person.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Okay.
it is what it is. I think David and Madison should just come out and say it so that we can start to root for them as a couple separately. Like, because I like them. If we think they're together, which I think a lot of people do, I like a David and Madison matchup. I don't mind it at all and would love to root for them. It's just the longer this goes on, it becomes hard to. Because,
In this dynamic, yeah.
yeah.
100%, yeah. And I think I saw online people trying to figure out, like, why does David keep lying? Why doesn't he come clean? It's because it's Madison. He had no issue listing off all the other women he'd been texting and talking to and whatever. But with her, he had to try and keep it tight-lipped, but he made it worse.
Yeah. David. Okay. So let's go to Michelle and David. Michelle meets with Pastor Cal, and yeah, she talks about how, well, this is triggering for me because my parents got a divorce because of infidelity. Now, this is, you talk about being skeptical of Madison. You know where I am with Michelle because I've been here day one. And not to say that infidelity doesn't trigger. I think it did trigger her, and that's why she's gone into full-blown detective mode and wants to call him out. But I don't think it triggered her in the sense that she feels hurt by his infidelity. I think it's just like, I want justice to be served. And that's why she's doing this.
Yeah, I'll just come out and say I don't think she's triggered at all. I do think she wants justice to be served because, one, I think she wants to get out of this kind of unscathed. I think she's aware of how she is being perceived by the audience, even while she's being filmed. And I think also maybe a bit of her ego is bruised in being like, oh, how dare you? Okay. I'm gonna even the playing field here and expose you. So yeah, I don't think she was triggered by it, but I could be wrong. I don't know this lady.
Okay, so yeah, of course, David. Pastor Cal was like, "Have you told David about your parents?" And she's like, "Well, I don't think he knows that." Which
He doesn't
obviously
know
not,
anything.
because you don't talk. You don't talk to this man.
Well,
How would he know?
in fact, you tried to bite his head off when he tried to get some of your perspective around your upbringing, your family structure, things that have happened. Yeah, I don't know for sure, but I feel like Michelle said she don't even have memory of her parents being together, that they dissolved before she even could remember. She never knew her parents being together. So I'm not saying that justifies anything, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So David comes in and Michelle is asked to share why this bothered her, and
With a smile on her face, though, by the way.
Girl, if I'm David, as wrong as he is, I would be so annoyed. Because, girl, you do not care about me. Why are you...
I
Why are
care
you...
now. I care now.
Girl, you could not get a Tony Award for this. Why are you acting like you? This is not an Oscar nomination. Like, why are you doing this? So yeah, if I were him, I would be annoyed. But he's sticking to his story about
Yeah.
this text
And
going to cousin Denise.
she claims, I guess it's just another case of him oversharing. If he'll tell me this, what else doesn't he want me to know? There's something bigger going on. You don't care.
Okay, Inspector Gadget. Like, all right,
And,
Nancy Drew.
and
Like,
David, he's digging his heels in. I think because he also wanted to expose the fact that she doesn't care. Because he got straight to the point and it's just like, okay, are you still in this? Oh, you are? That's news to me.
and why are you lying? Because you're not. Like, this door has been closed. It was closed before it never got open, to be very clear. And so both of you guys are lying now. You want to
They're
sit
both
here and point
lying.
fingers at him about being a liar, about the text going to cousin Denise. Like, you're a liar because you know you have never wanted this man, and I would respect it more if you just said, no, I'm out of it, but you can't do me like this, so we got to get to the bottom of it. Like, just be honest.
Just be honest.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So later on, when they left the meeting, Michelle in her diary thing, confessional, was saying, yeah, it was so much easier to talk to David with Pastor Cal there. You've been saying that all season. It's so easy to talk to him when the experts are here. Well, he's a human being, so I don't understand why it's so difficult to just have conversations with him outside of that. But when they get outside and she's grilling him, Pastor Cal had told her, you could reach out to cousin Denise at this point. Like, why not?
And how do you feel about Pastor Cal offering that advice?
Okay, there's two sides of me. So as a viewer, I'm like, yeah, what cousin Denise got to say? Because I want to hear it. I would like to know what cousin Denise will say. On the other hand, like, I get it, because you clearly don't trust what this man is saying. Everybody can see it's a lie, and you do need to get down to the bottom of it. You do need to know, hey, if he did send a text, or if cousin Denise did interact with him, that would at least help me to believe him more. So I don't mind Pastor Cal giving her that advice at all.
I don't know. I'm just kind of like, one, she's not interested in being with him, but also in real life, you may not always get the proof. And so I think you have to be confident in what you've seen and heard and what you felt and move with that. So, like, their situation aside, I'm kind of like, yeah, you could reach out and get this confirmation. In fact, she said she fully anticipated that she would lie.
Yeah.
So, which you don't know her, but you just made the assumption that, like, oh, she's going to take up for her cousin, which she didn't. But say she did, say this is the real world, and the cousin was like, oh yeah, he's with me, because situations like that happen where people cover for people. So then do you just not lean on what you saw, what you heard, what you felt? So I don't know. I feel like sometimes seeking more information can lead you down a rabbit hole that you think will set you free. But
And it keeps you in bondage.
It keeps you in bondage. You may just have to lean on what you already saw and heard.
Yeah, but also Pastor Cal isn't going to be giving advice that would break them up. So,
oh, good advice. Shady.
but no, I could see why he would say, well, you have an opportunity to confirm. Go ahead and
TV.
confirm.
Yeah, like, and we want to know. Let me not be on a
did.
high horse. I want to know.
I wish cousin Denise would have come on camera, honestly.
Now the real question,
producers, do y'all need help? Because why was she not sitting in one of those chairs?
how did she get cousin Denise's number?
Because they've mingled before. I don't know if I heard this on the after party or what, but apparently they went to some family thing and Denise was there, so they had been around each other before.
Okay, so she calls cousin Denise, and Denise is like, yeah, I got a text basically saying, "Hey, can you cover for me?" And I initially said, "Yeah," but I didn't know the full situation and for what. And now that I'm hearing more, absolutely not. I don't condone this. I don't want no parts of this. The text wasn't meant for me. We did not have any communication, and so Michelle, I guess, got the proof she needed. Um, I want to know, if this is your cousin, what would you do?
I'll be honest, I would be a cousin Denise because you're not about to wrap me up in your stuff. I don't want no. My name is Bennett, and I ain't in it. I want zero parts of the shenanigans. I would be a cousin. I would be a cousin Denise, and depending on the cousin of mine who it was, they might cover for me.
You know, I am all for, like, yeah, don't include me in your mess. No parts of it. I wouldn't have even answered the phone, to be honest. Like, I don't answer numbers I don't know. Like, if someone's calling me, like, say a person I know through you is calling me, the way you gonna go to voicemail, and then it's like, because I'd be like, why are you I would think, why are you calling me? I wouldn't answer. Now, if you kept calling back, I'd be like, oh, it's an emergency, or if you left a voicemail. But I would probably just not say nothing at all. One, I don't want to be on national television. Like, no,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have no contact.
Like if
Keep it
say
amongst
it were a
yourselves.
friend, if this were me and I was like, oh, Miosha cover for me, Miosha would not do that, and I would
I
not
wouldn't
do it
answer
for
the
her.
phone.
Love her down,
Mm-mm.
would not do it because
The
I don't
way I would send them the voice, I want no parts. I don't want that
zero.
bad juju on me.
But I
Now,
will
I will
say,
say,
oh, go
I'm
ahead.
not. I wouldn't say anything because I don't want to say too much. Like, y'all might kiss and make up and get back together. That's how people do. I don't know. I just rather say nothing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Don't,
Yeah.
because I don't want you to even get comfortable involving me. I want you to think, when you think of me, oh, she don't want no parts of nothing. So don't even bother calling her.
I would answer the phone. I would answer the phone and tell you exactly what you just said. That's what I would say, but you would hear it from me. I don't play those games. Don't call my phone with the nonsense. I don't like it. So
Nope.
yeah, but what I was gonna say was, when they walked out of the Pastor Cal meeting, I'm like, Michelle, this is the most you've talked to David all season, and it's just because you know you want to take pleasure in exposing him in this way that, oh, he's not so perfect and he's not so whatever. I think at the end of this season, depending on how long this gets dragged on, I think most people are still going to walk away with a positive perspective of David, not so much Michelle. And
Huh.
so I think she should just let it go because it's exhausting to watch.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to walk away with a positive perception. I could see them being neutral in the sense of, like, he's not a great guy, but he's not the worst either.
You think they would be more like, if we took a poll of David and Michelle, who do you think would be more liked,
Oh,
more
David
popular?
would. Because I think David is a more likable person, period, to probably hang around. Just how did Michelle's friend describe her? Like, oh, you got to warm up to her. Like, it's a whole process and an initial interaction. So I think by far he would win. But I think as a result of this,
Yeah.
I think people are like, okay, Michelle, you carried yourself a certain way in the way you were talking and treating to him this whole first part of the season. So we're just gonna let you move on with your life in peace. We won't drag you too
Yeah.
much. David, I think people really liked him and felt a lot of empathy for him and how he was being treated, and this kind of being a dud of a process for him. But I think him lying doesn't help. I think the viewer perception of him. Um, yeah, I think people will still like him, but they'll be kind of neutral. Like, you ain't have to lie about it and drag it out this long, because I think it can lead
Yeah.
to more of a character moral issue and how he's navigating it. Um,
I think what helps his case though, is that he's lying to protect Madison. I think people will consider that.
Okay.
Like, and so I
He
don't
might be
know.
lying just to
You guys
lie.
tell us
Yeah.
in the comments, like, do any of these things play into how you feel about David, how you feel about Michelle? I think the worst person to get it will be Madison.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think between David and Madison, I think many more people will kind of be on his side because it's understanding that, oh yeah, you've been being put through it since the beginning. Madison, you actually had a genuine, legit partner who you could trust, and you ain't have to do him like that. Like Madison, you of all people, you should have stuck through the whole season and the process as honest as possible because of who you were paired with. Unfortunately, because of the
Yes.
way Michelle is acted, we're like, whatever, we don't care, nothing to see here.
Yeah. Yeah. Almost like she has no excuse type of thing. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
unfortunate. I hope everybody moves on and lives a happily ever after life.
I know.
Honestly. But all right. That's all that I have.
Yep, that's it.
All right. Well, let us know in the comments what you thought. And we will see y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye.